Divorce is one of the most painful things you can go through. It's like your entire life is falling apart, but no one tells you about the healing that comes after it. We often think of divorce as the end, but sometimes it's really just the beginning of finding ourselves again. Today, I'm sharing the unexpected truth behind my divorce, how it wasn't just about losing someone, but about discovering who I really am. When we first got married, I thought I had it all. The dream job, the perfect house, a partner who loved me, or so I thought. Everyone around us envied our relationship, we were the couple people looked up to. I had convinced myself that my marriage was everything I had worked for. But underneath the surface, there was a growing tension I was too afraid to acknowledge. We spent years building a life together, yet, somewhere along the way, I lost myself. I stopped doing the things I loved. I stopped nurturing friendships. I gave all my energy to my partner, thinking that if I loved enough, worked hard enough, I'd be fulfilled. But in the process, I lost touch with my own dreams and passions. But here's the truth, love should never be a sacrifice of self. A relationship should complement you, not complete you. The cracks in our marriage started small. A comment here, a misunderstanding there. We brushed it off, telling ourselves we'd work through it. But slowly, those little issues turned into bigger ones. We no longer communicated well. We fought about things that didn't matter. And then there were the silences, long, empty silences that ate away at us. I thought I was strong. I kept going, thinking I could fix it. I convinced myself that if I loved harder, sacrificed more, things would get better. But love alone wasn't enough to repair what was broken. Sometimes, we become so attached to the idea of keeping things together that we forget to question whether what we're holding on to is worth it. We often confuse familiarity with happiness. But staying in a relationship out of habit is a disservice to both people involved. The turning point came unexpectedly, like a wave crashing over me, pulling me under, but also washing away the fog. One day, I looked at my partner and realized that I no longer recognized him. Not in a physical sense, but emotionally. I couldn't connect anymore. The spark was gone, and I couldn't pretend anymore. I knew in my heart that I wasn't being true to myself. I spent so much time focusing on our problems that I forgot to look at the bigger picture. I was losing myself in the process. I had reached a point where I realized that it wasn't just about fixing the relationship. It was about saving myself. And sometimes, saving yourself means making the hardest choice of all, walking away. Making the decision to divorce was the hardest thing I've ever done. It felt like I was walking away from my whole life. The future I had envisioned, the family we had talked about building, all the plans and promises, it felt like I was losing it all. I questioned myself constantly. Was I doing the right thing? Was I being selfish? Was this the end of everything we'd built? But the unexpected truth behind this decision was that I wasn't just choosing to end my marriage. I was choosing to find myself again. I was choosing my happiness, my peace, my future. Divorce doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't mean you've given up. It means you had the courage to let go of what wasn't working. It means you valued your peace over the chaos. After the divorce, I was lost. I didn't know who I was anymore. I felt like a part of me had died. The person I was in the marriage, the person I had defined myself as, no longer existed. I had to rediscover myself. I spent a lot of time alone, reflecting, grieving, and healing. I went to therapy, I journaled, and I took long walks. I reconnected with my passions, things I had put aside for years. I started traveling alone, doing things that filled me with joy, instead of doing things that filled the void. I realized that healing isn't linear. Some days, I felt strong. Other days, I felt broken. But every day, I was moving forward. The most unexpected truth I found during this journey was that divorce wasn't the end of love. In fact, it was the beginning of a deeper love for myself. I learned that self-love isn't about being perfect. It's about accepting who you are, flaws and all, and finding peace within yourself. The hardest thing I had to accept was that love, when it's truly right, shouldn't feel like a sacrifice. It should feel like a partnership, where both people feel whole, supported, and valued. Divorce didn't destroy me, it rebuilt me into a stronger version of myself. I learned that sometimes, walking away from something toxic is the most loving thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for the person you were with too. After the divorce, I wasn't the same person I was before. I felt lighter, freer, and more in control of my life. I no longer feared change. I embraced it. And I started to trust myself again. The truth behind my divorce wasn't just about a broken relationship. It was about the restoration of my sense of self. It was about finding my worth, reclaiming my power, and learning how to build a future that was mine, one that didn't rely on anyone else for happiness. I'm still learning, still growing, and still healing. But I've come to understand that sometimes, you have to break before you can rebuild. Divorce was not my failure. It was my rebirth. If you're going through a similar journey, know that you are not alone. The pain you feel now will eventually give way to a future that is stronger, brighter, and more fulfilling. And sometimes, the unexpected truth behind the pain is that it will lead you to the most beautiful version of yourself. Trust the process, trust your strength, and most importantly, trust your worth.